David Berens has been a USPTA elite tennis pro since 2001 and has been a full-time tennis instructor since 1997. He's worked in every form of tennis facility, from exclusive resorts to neighborhood parks. His simple philosophy is to help his players have more fun faster playing the game of tennis. David, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
David, you publish tennis books through Amazon as well as thrillers and action-adventure novels. And what prompted you to explore writing?
I've been a writer for a very long time, maybe literally 5, 6 years old. And I think I mentioned to you that I was fortunate that my mother kept a couple of copies of books that I actually put together with poster board and cardboard and paper when I was little. And when I went to school, I eventually decided I would get an English degree. So I am classically trained in English. And my thought was to become a teacher. So all along those years of learning to be that English teacher or English professor, I did write. So it's kind of been a lifelong thing for me.
Okay, and I guess your first novel was actually, it had nothing to do with tennis, is that right?
That's correct, yeah. My first book was a sort of a collection of fantasy stories like elves and dwarves and dragons and things like that. Some friends of mine and I played Dungeons and Dragons role-playing games when we were in college, and they were so hilarious that I thought I would collect them all and put them into a book. And my original intention was just to have those printed and share with my friends. So that was the first book that I ever published.
Okay, and you publicly admit to the Dungeons and Dragons thing. I know that there are some people who have played, and I'm not going to say if I'm in that group or not, but they don't always admit that they've played. So
That's
it's
right.
Kudos to you for admitting that you liked it.
I don't do it a whole lot anymore. You know, that was kind of one of our pastimes when I was in school. So, you know, it's kind of it's fallen by the wayside as I've gotten a little bit older. But there are a lot of people who still play and still enjoy that sort of thing.
Fantastic. Now, I've heard that Jerry Seinfeld follows a process where he commits to write a joke every day. And he doesn't wait for a profound inspiration to try to develop an entire stand-up routine at one sitting. Do you follow kind of a similar process, or what was your process when you started, and how has that changed, if at all, over time?
Well, you know, that's a fantastic question. In the beginning, I was doing something along the lines of, you know, sitting down whenever I had time between classes and things like that, and just writing, you know, a few hundred words, something like that. And in the original, with that original novel, there was no real thought that I would try to publish and you know, become a writer. That was just a collection of stories that I enjoyed and thought I would put together. My actual writing process now is a certain word count. So you'll hear a lot of authors talk about that. They want to get maybe 2,000 words a day or 3,000, or there are some who write 8,000 and 10,000 words a day. And it's just about putting a number on a spreadsheet and saying, did I hit that target, or do I need to do more?
Okay. And so you apply that, you do that yourself, or?
I do. Yeah, I try to get at least 2,500 words a day on a current project. And if I don't have a current project working, there are a million other things to do behind the scenes.
Okay. And what does the business model look like in writing?
For me, being an independently published author, I have literally taken on the role of the publisher. So yes, in the beginning, I'm the writer and I come up with a draft. Beyond that, you know, I know that's a huge hurdle for some people. You know, you literally are trying to put words on the page every single day until you get to the end. And once you hit the end of that draft, it's literally almost like the beginning of the publishing process, the publishing house process. So what happens is from there, I become the editor, you know, and maybe I make an editing pass. And so once I get through that editing pass on my own, some might call it like a second draft, or maybe even a third if it needs it, then it goes off to a team of people that I've recruited from my own audience that read it, help me find errors, help me find plot holes, help me find things that don't make sense. And then it gets another cleaning up. You know, I go through the draft again and clean it up. So finally now we're ready to start putting it into book form. And what happens is I get a cover designed and made for it. And I'm lucky enough that maybe I can design some of my own, but a professional cover is literally the best possible investment you can make. So if you're considering doing something like this, just check out professional cover designers. It's not that much. Less than $500, you can get something that looks just as good as the bookshelves at Barnes and Noble. And after that, the interior is formatted. All the writing is properly formatted on the page, and that's literally just sitting down, making sure the pages are numbered correctly, making sure the chapter headings are correct, and you can do all kinds of fancy stuff with that. And once I get through that interior formatting, then it's a process of publishing it. And there are 12 to 15 different, I guess, online retailers, Amazon, of course, being the largest. And you can go exclusive to one or another, or you can publish your book wide, which is, you can go into a multitude of distributors with your book. And then after that, that book is live and available for publishing or purchasing, you become the marketer. You become the advertiser, the marketer, and the PR person all in one. So it's kind of it's a daunting task, but once you get the sort of the formula down, it's pretty easy stuff. Anybody could do it.
Now, do you have books that are all of your books in print, or are there some that are only available, say, to read on a device?
They are all available in all formats as I get them done. So there are all obviously electronic or e-reader device, Amazon Kindle versions, but they are also available in paperback. That has become easier to do recently because the model is a little bit different, whereas a traditional publisher actually prints a certain number of these books. The new model for an independent publisher like myself is print on demand. So the book is never printed until the customer orders it. So for instance, if you wanted a copy of my book and you went online, you say, I want Dave's tennis book, Double Down. You order it, they print it, then they ship it to you. So it's literally, it's print on demand.
Wow. Okay, so backing up a second, let's say that you said that some of your readers, you bring them on to actually look for holes in your plots or, different, if there are any sort of errors in there. When you first started out, though, who did you get involved? So, like, for anybody who's listening who might want to move down this path, who might they look to do some edits or offer some edits initially?
There are a whole lot of freelance people out there that will edit for you if you have a little bit of money to put to it. That's usually your best choice. There are a couple of sites that I've used in the past called Fiverr, fiverr.com. I'm not affiliated with these in any way. And then there's also a site called Upwork, upwork.com. And you basically can say, I have a book that's 50,000 words, 70,000 words. I need a copy editor or a proofer, and you can say, I would like to pay about this much money, and they'll get back to you with a bid, and you can hire someone to do it sort of professionally. Now, in the beginning, I literally edited all my books on my own in the beginning, which is a terrible idea. You never catch all the errors yourself. But that's the way I started until things got rolling enough to where I could actually kind of get somebody, dedicated to whenever I have a draft ready, I send it to them and they proof it for me or edit it for me.
Okay. Now, let's say that we've got somebody listening who would like to write a tennis-related book. Mm-hmm. And they have content already, or they know what they want to write about, but they're not sure that they could fill 200 or 300 pages or something like that. How short is too short?
In this day and age of electronic, no, nothing is too short. There are plenty of people that are influencers and professors and teachers that put out 30-page PDFs, and that's the way it happened before Kindle came along. You had your content put into a PDF file, and you could either give it away or sell it on your own website, and that still happens today as well. But the sort of minimum for print is probably maybe 25 pages or 30 pages. I'm not even really sure, but the good news is typically nonfiction is shorter because you want it to be as concise and to the point and actionable. It's more fact over fluff, you know, as they say. And so those tend to be a lot shorter than say a fiction novel.
Okay, so pro shouldn't be discouraged if they don't have a novel,
No,
you know, from the outset.
absolutely not. And in fact, you know, what you probably want to make sure is that your content is spot on, you know, and it's perfect, you know, edited well, it's designed well, it looks good, because those things matter a lot more to people than, you know, oh, I didn't get to read 150 pages about, you know, Dave's tennis philosophy.
Okay, and so let's say somebody writes something, and maybe they have it on Amazon. How important is the comments, or are the comments? I know that with so many products, the people who sell those products are very, very sensitive to the comments on there. Is that something that you pay attention to?
Not anymore. You know, it's sort of a catch-22. You need those reviews and those comments for other readers to check out and say, yes, this is the book for me. No, this is not what I wanted. And I, you know, also with my street team, the people that I told you I send the initial draft to, and that's about 100 people right now on my mailing list. So 100 people get a very early copy, and they comb through it and they read it and they tell me if it's good or bad or whatever. And then once the book goes live, they kind of go on and post a review for me. Totally legit. I don't pay anybody for reviews, and I don't get, you know, I don't say you have to give me a good review or else you don't get any free books. I say, look, please be honest. It's one of those things where I would rather a reader say, that review makes sense to me, it resonates with me, and he didn't like it, so it's probably not my book. Because what I really don't want is another person to buy it and then give it a bad review. So I've gotten so many now that it's kind of, I don't really go back and look. You know, I sometimes go back and take a snippet of a really good review and use it in my advertising, you know, or something like that. But for the most part, early on, you know, have your colleagues read it. This is a really weird technical point, but don't get someone who, if you're writing a tennis book, don't get a non-tennis person to read and review it, because that really messes with the behind-the-scenes algorithms that Amazon has in place to get your book to the right people. So try to get tennis colleagues, tennis players, tennis people who maybe have already bought a tennis book or two to look at it first and review. And after a while, it doesn't matter. Anybody can review it.
Fantastic. Well, that sounds like some sage advice. All right, David, thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll have some questions toward the end for you.